Hit the clicker.
All right, so I'm going to cover the introduction real quick. My friend Tim is going to be doing most of this because he's the ones doing the implementation. But real briefly, who we are, I'm James Stanway. I am a solutions consultant working for Boomi. I've been there about 4 years. And Tim?
I'm Tim Hager. I'm the CTO and CISO at HealthBridge Financial.
And then we're going to go through, as you see here, what HealthBridge Financial does, what their business goals were, talk a little bit about Boomi and why AWS, a closer look at what they've done, and then their business outcomes, and then we'll close it up with a summary.
Thanks, James. So what is HealthBridge? So the business problem we're trying to solve is to help people afford the healthcare when they need it. More and more employers are giving their employees health plans that have $5,000 and $6,000 and $7,000 out of pockets. People are avoiding care. They're not getting the care when they need it because they only have $400 on hand on average for their health care at the time of emergency. What we do is for people who have HealthBridge, we pay the providers on your behalf, right? So you have an accident, you fall down, you hurt your leg, you go to the doctor. As you go to check out, usually they'd say, hey, by the way, that was a $3,000 event. How would you like to pay? If you have HealthBridge, we pay the providers for you. Then you pay us off over time at 0% interest, right? And so we allow people to seek care when they need it. So if it's not an accident, we have all kinds of examples of where people needed to get, a knee that was been bothering them forever, but they just don't have the out-of-pocket to get it fixed. They have eye surgery they need, but they just couldn't do it because they were waiting to be able to afford it. With HealthBridge, we give them that ability to have the financial security to go out and seek care when they need it. And so we sit really at the intersection of InsurTech and FinTech, and we work with everything from very complex financial back ends to all of the claims processing and claims adjudication when we work with all the payers, Blue Cross Blue Shield, for example. And so what we do is when we went out and looked at the platforms we wanted to build, I was technical employee number one, and I just came off of 17 years traveling around the U.S., working with major manufacturers, helping them scale and grow their e-commerce platforms from both a scale and security standpoint. And so I was fortunate enough to come in both as a CISO and the CTO, so I could have great arguments with myself about scale versus technical approach. And because of that, I was able to really choose the best of the things for us, right? So I had a bake-off with AWS, Google, and other cloud platform providers, and chose AWS because of their depth of services, their scalability, the tools that they offered out of the box, and chose them as my base platform. Like in a similar case, I went out and did a bake-off with many of the iPaaS vendors that were in the market at the time, MuleSoft, Boomi, Tibco, and others, and chose Boomi because I really liked what I saw. The fact that because we're brim full of HIPAA information, security really had to be the top of the thing for us. And so by able to run Boomi on our environments at AWS allowed us to have a level of security and comfort that we wanted with that, because we're going through high trust, which is a certification process that is a painful but necessary process to prove to our partners and our payers that we're taking great care and stewardship of the data that we've been given. And so we've been able to meet all those expectations and then some. And so why are we here talking today? One of the things that has been really important for me as we grew and built out this platform, right? So we are a brand new platform. We decided to build everything ourselves. We needed to be able to integrate with many, many different tools, whether it be our payer partners, our financial partners, things like Slack, Sage, all these different integrations. When I was on the road and doing all these large-scale e-commerce with people like Harley-Davidson, Kohl's, ASICS, the thing that really sucked the joy out of the project a lot of times was I had to take my very best developers and put them on integrations, because that was the most complex thing that we had going on. It wasn't the business value that we were trying to generate. It was trying to get all these divergent systems to talk to each other. So when I saw what Boomi was offering, I saw that I could drive down the talent stack, the integrations, which are super important. They have to scale, they have to be secure, they have to be done correctly. But it allowed me to drive down the talent stack, the ability to integrate with all these different tools out there. And for the first 4 years of HealthBridge's life, I was the Boomi developer. So I could do my day job as the CTO and the CISO, and then I did all the integration work to stitch all these divergent systems together. And it allowed me to take my highest skilled developers and have them drive business value quickly. And on the stuff that we hand wrote from the ground up. So that was super important for us. And it was also really important for us to be able to go out to our partners, Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan, for example, and say, your favorite integration format is my favorite integration format. I don't care if you're doing Fire, if you're doing flat file, if you're doing XML, whatever you want to do, we can handle and scale with you in a secure way. And so that was really exciting for us to be able to do that. It really gave us a level of credibility in the marketplace, and also allowed us to, as we went through our high trust journey, to know that we were going to be able to meet our compliance and security framework requirements. Between the tools that AWS wraps around us, some of the key partnerships that we have with Okta and CrowdStrike and others, and being able to put that around Zscaler and others, we really felt like we were in a really great spot. We felt like I felt that by taking the focus in the relationship that I've been able to build with Boomi, we've been able to really drive some really interesting use cases that have really moved us forward, I think, in the marketplace and our speed to market. Really, I always talked to my teams about what's the quickest way to business value, right? Don't get hung up on, I want to write everything, right? So you get some of the developers who are like, low code is low skill, low value. That's crap, right? Really it is what's the quickest way to business value, right? And I will give you interesting things to develop and hand write, but be smart about what we hand develop and what you use low code tools for. And that's what we do with Boomi, is that we say, okay, these things are high business value, we need to get them quick to market, and there's no intrinsic value for us as a company to hand write this, right? So I'm also serving the master of our investors, the people that are trying to see HealthBridge succeed, and they want me to spend every dollar wisely. They want me to pinch every penny 6 times before I let it go out of my big fat Polish hands, right? And so what we do is that we look at a new business initiative, a new integration, a new way to process files, and we ask ourselves, is it smarter to hand write this? Or do we need to or can we put this on the Boomi platform and utilize all the feature functionality that we see there? And more, the developers that used to kind of turn their nose up about using a low-code solution are now the ones advocating for it, saying, yep, that's a smart thing for us to do. That should be on the Boomi platform. I want to write this. That's really cool, and that adds high business value. So when you get your development team and your security teams thinking about the quickest time to business value, you then begin changing the way you look at how and why you hand develop things, and that's been for us the biggest thing.
Great, thanks, Tim. So I'll just hop on a little quickly to add on what Tim said about why Boomi. And I think he's already hit on this already, but really it's shortening that time to create integrations to these disparate systems into days, not weeks, not months. So what we find too with the Boomi platform is the ability to create a template, take a templatized approach. So if I'm sending to an ERP system, once I've created that business logic once, I have the ability to reuse it across all of my different integration processes. Low code, like he said already, really designed to be that business analyst or a systems analyst to be able to do it, as opposed to having to go out and hire Java developers. The other part of it is really this proven ROI and low TCO. So we've talked a lot about the design side of Boomi, but on the runtime side as well, what we do is we will automatically upgrade your runtimes for you, so you don't have to worry about doing the big bang upgrade every 18 to 24 months. We're going to ensure that everything's kept in sync. The other thing is what we do is give you the ability to submit your processes to our regression test bed as part of this kind of combined platform. So again, we can help you when we do those updates, so you can ensure that all of your integrations will remain steady. Real quickly, and I'll turn it back over to Tim, is from the Boomi perspective, really the core of what we do is integration, but we do have other components built onto that same platform. So we have the ability to do full-blown API management, be able to master your data, also extend that reach out into B2B and EDI. So instead of having to use one tool for integration, another tool for B2B EDI, it's all the same tool. So we have what we call economies of skill. Once I've learned to do something within Boomi, I have that same person that can do all of these other parts in Boomi. In that templatized approach that I talked about earlier, I've got something that connects to the ERP. I can use it from an EDI perspective. I can use it from a real-time perspective, batch perspective. It doesn't really matter.
That's some great points, James. And some of the stuff that we've been able to leverage is in the healthcare industry, they talk in 270s and 271s and 837s and 835s. Well, once I and the other Boomi developer we have now have learned the basic concepts of that within Boomi, we are able to quickly bring up the speed, highly scalable, highly secure endpoints that our providers expect from somebody in our industry to be able to have. And so a very small team was able to meet the expectations of Change Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield and all these other partners that we have, and we're able to then leverage all the EDI componentry that we have. So one of the things is, why AWS, right? I don't ever want to own a server, right? I don't ever want to have to go through a long bake-off selection process to try a new technology that may or may not work for us, right? And so for the 17 years that I was on the road, you had to go through and you had to hope and guess that this new feature functionality and this new technology would be the right one. You go through a long procurement process, you go through and you sign up, and then you have some level of disappointment in the tools you select, right? So it didn't work out. For me, with AWS, I love the fact that I have a menu of features and functionality that I can spin up and spin down, and whatever I consume, I pay for. And if I don't like it, or if that was a stupid idea, I shut it down and I stop paying for it. I don't have a huge investment of time, people, and skill sets that aren't anywhere useful anymore, and I end up with shelfware, right? For me, there is no shelfware with AWS. And as I watch them evolve and grow and really focus on security, which is the other half of my job is security, it's really important for me to be able to know that I have partners in Boomi and AWS and others that are wrapping security around everything we do, right? So, they also are building tools that allow me to have a bully pulpit, right? So they give you a rating. You are at 63% of best practices. It's not me telling my team anymore, I want to do this, this, and this. I now have an industry expert saying, you're at 63%. And I say, okay, how do we get back up to plus 90, right? Our goal is always to be over 90%. So now my teams are using the security tools and the reporting that's within AWS to self-regulate what they work on and what they focus on. So they see a new issue come out in AWS, and all of a sudden our security rating goes under 90%. They self-reprioritize their work to get it back up over 90, because that is always our goal. We are entrusted with your most personal information, and we have got to be doing everything possible to make sure that we are amazing stewards of that information. And so having tools and a partner like AWS has allowed me to focus on that.
Oops. There we go.
You got two people clicking.
What kind of presentation would it be without an architecture diagram, of course? So again, this is a representative of HealthBridge's implementation. And I want to call out a distinction with Boomi as well. You'll see two AWS clouds here, but basically we separate the control plane, so the build, deploy, and manage from a platform perspective, from the runtime. And what that does is allows companies such as HealthBridge to ensure that they've got those security requirements that they need, and they don't have to worry about their data being sent back to our cloud. So your data is always controlled by you, and then as part of that Boomi platform, the ability to do auto-scaling within the environment to scale up and scale down as needed, connect to your AWS services as you see here, but then also as importantly, connect to those external services as well. I'm going to fast forward. So outcomes.
Yep. So we are very outcome driven as is Boomi. If what you don't measure, you can't improve, right? And so we are very outcome driven. And I feel like the time and effort that we've saved with Boomi has moved things forward that were deep in our backlog on a development standpoint. I was able to move forward by using Boomi Flow, which is the UI overlay over Boomi integration. I was able to move some very important, very high business value portals forward in the process by myself and the other developer bringing them to market quickly. So we are driving down our call center calls from our providers saying, hey, what's going on with this or what's going on with that? They're now able to self-serve. And so we are really focused on building out our integrations as quick as possible. Things that would have taken us months to develop, we are now doing in days and hours. We get an idea, we conceptualize it, we build integration. It's in production in a week, in a sprint, and then we're able to track and manage its expectations and its performance. So it's excellent.
All right. I'll just close, or maybe this is your quote. I'll let you say it, or I can say it. So from our customer, Tim, which you've met here today, so really a quote that he said is, they're easily saving thousands of hours in development work with Boomi, and their IT team has gone from being the bottleneck to the Department of Yes to be able to fulfill their business requirements. So thank you for your time. We got to call out the survey. If you're interested in learning more about Boomi, we're in booth 945, just around the corner. So I'll be there and some other people will be there, and you can definitely come in if you got questions or other things you want to talk about. More than happy to do that. So thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.